there, welcome to another edition of Yoga with Anne. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today's sequence I call Bone Deep. I'm going to give you a little more details on that in a moment. I do want to remind you to honor your body. That's the most important thing always. I give modifications, I give adjustments, all kinds of information for you to take in and then decide what's best for you. And what may be best for you is to not do the pose, to do something different, to just be on your mat, to just breathe, whatever it is, be careful, be mindful, take care of you. So the props that we're gonna need today, some sort of yoga blanket. That could be a beach towel, a bath towel, something that folds and rolls easily. If that's the only thing you have for yoga practice, it'll work. You can have all kinds of other things. If you have yoga blocks, have yoga blocks, 1 or 2. I'm sitting on my other yoga block at the moment. And then if you have a yoga strap. So if you don't have a yoga strap, you could use a necktie, the belt from a bathrobe, a scarf, anything like that. We can work around that. We can also work around the yoga block. So anything that you have around the house, could be pillows, cushions from your couch, stuff like that might be helpful for certain poses that we do. But if you don't have any of those things or don't want to get those things, have a yoga blanket or a towel that folds or rolls easily. That could also be a blanket, just not like a super squishy blanket. That won't work for what we need it for. So I have some notes and I want to make sure that I read them, and I need my glasses. So I mentioned that we are doing a sequence that I call Bone Deep. And when I lived in Portland, one of my yoga students shared an article with me that they found in the New York Times called Bone Deep. And it was about a doctor at Columbia who specialized in rehabilitation medicine. And in 2009, he began a small pilot study with 11 yoga practitioners to help them increase bone density in their spine and their hips. So this practice is to help reverse the effects of osteopenia, osteoporosis. Weight-bearing exercises can help that. Studies have shown that, including the study that this doctor did many years ago. So weight-bearing exercises can be with weights, can be with dumbbells, but can also be with yoga poses where we use our own body weight. So if you have those things or you incorporate all of that into your exercise, that's awesome, that's great. So this was an NIH study, and it found that weight-bearing yoga poses can slow down the effects of osteoporosis, which is bone loss, and osteopenia, which is decreased bone density. Weight-bearing exercises stimulate bones to retain calcium and produce more bone mass. Your ribs, wrists, hips, and spine are the most common places to lose bone, and bones that commonly break due to osteoporosis are in the back, hips, and forearms. So anything that we can do to help reverse that is awesome. If you practice yoga, if you do other things, could be Tai Chi, martial arts, walking, doing your own weights. It doesn't have to be heavy weight, right? Like I mentioned, we can use our own body weight for that. You could use little dumbbells, whatever works for you. So that's gonna be our focus today. Again, a reminder to honor your body. So I'm gonna come off of the yoga block that I have. I'm gonna set them aside, just kind of having them nearby. And then I'm gonna come to lie down, and I'm gonna use my folded blanket under my head like a pillow. I'm also gonna get a sip of water. I think Jordy might join us ever so briefly. I think he's gonna go back to his job. He has decided that this place is his lately. This morning I took a yoga class, and I had to squish myself in between him and the Zoom camera to be able to take class today. So he's doing a little bit of nesting over there. I'm gonna wait for him to settle down. He'll plop himself down and probably be out for the rest of the class. Part of life, right? Part of Zoom yoga, part of online yoga, YouTube yoga, whatever it might be that you are doing. Gotta get it just right. So you can start to lie down. I think Jordy's about to. Lie down, buddy, okay? All right, so let's come to lie down. You're welcome to have something under your head as a pillow. You don't have to, right? For a lot of us, lying down would tend to be a little bit hunched in our upper body, and so this will help you to relax and to release that instead of feeling like tense and that you're holding yourself up. So, oh yes, have your yoga strap nearby. If you don't have a strap, you can use something else, or I'll show you how to use your own hands for this pose. So come to lie down in what's called constructive rest with your knees bent and your feet on your mat. We're just going to take a few moments here to breathe. If it's comfortable for you, you could place your hands on your belly or your chest or your side ribs or anywhere that's comfortable. I like to have my hands on my belly because I can feel my breath moving. I can feel the inhales, I can feel widening. And as I exhale, I can feel everything soften. On your next breath, see if you can deepen, so maybe a fuller, longer, deeper inhale. And as you exhale, let out a sigh. Let's hug our knees into our chest. Maybe do a little rocking here. Maybe open and close your knees. Maybe circle your knees either together or away from each other. Just some sort of little movement here. All right, keep your right knee hugged in and set your left foot down on your mat. This is where we're going to use our yoga strap. So if you don't have a strap, I'm going to show how to do it without the strap. So I will start to lengthen and reach my leg and foot toward the ceiling, and I'm going to bring my hands behind my thigh. You can also do hands free. It's just you get a little more benefit with this support. You can probably straighten your leg a little bit more with the support of your hands. If you have something to use as a strap, you can probably get deeper into this pose. So put the strap over my foot, and then once it's in place, I reach and lengthen. So with the strap, because see my hands can't reach my foot, I'm actually able to bring my leg pretty straight. With my hands behind my side, not quite as much. So your leg doesn't have to be super straight, but if you are like this, you're not getting that stretch, especially in the back of your leg. So maybe you move your leg a little farther away from your chest. Spread your toes, and you can hold on your strap however you'd like. Some people like to kind of have their arms down. It depends on how long your strap is, right? You can wind the strap up in your hands. You can hold closer. So this pose is called Supta Padangusthasana, hand to big toe pose. So, I could touch my toes, but look, I can't relax my body, look at my shoulder. So that's why I have a strap or use something like this to help make my arms longer. Let's release the strap. Hug your knee into your chest. Hug your left knee into your chest. Maybe a little movement here. Maybe it's something different than we first did. Totally up to you. Set your right foot down. Keep your left knee in. Lasso your left foot. And reach and extend on up toward the ceiling. Spread your toes. And this side's tighter for me, so I actually have to move my leg a little farther away to get my leg pretty straight. Again, I mentioned it doesn't have to be straight, and we don't want to press our knee and hyperextend to get there. So if your leg isn't all the way straight, that's okay. It's working towards straight. Spreading your toes, noticing your breath. Release your strap. Hug your left knee into your chest. Hug your right knee into your chest. A little bit more movement here, or maybe stillness. And then make your way over to one side. Before you come up, press your hands into your mat. See if you can let your head come up last. So just kind of let it hang as you press your hands, pressing on up with your arms, and then coming on up. Have a sip of water. Let's come on to all fours in our tabletop. If you'd like padding for your knees, you can have your blanket or towel under your knees. And let's have our yoga blocks, if you have them, up at the top of your mat. One on each side. And then we'll come onto all fours with your knees below your hips. I'm going to move this block out of the way just so you can see my hands and arms. And then we start with our wrists under our shoulders. That might not feel great for you, so maybe your hands go a little forward, a little wider, fingers can turn out or in, so you find the best spot for you. And then once you're there, let's move with our breath. So we're going to tuck our tail under as we exhale, rounding our back, allowing our head and neck to drop slightly into the cat. And then when you inhale, lift your tail up, allow your spine to follow, open your heart, and slightly lift your head and neck. And then go back and forth. So you want to make sure that when you come into that cow, that you don't like lift your head up so high. See how my voice changes? Exhaling on the cat, inhaling on the cow. Let's do one more round after this. Everyone's breath is a little bit different, so you might be faster or slower than me. And we'll come back to that neutral spine, neutral tabletop. And then let's step our hands one handprint forward. We're going to come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. If you prefer to stay down, you can do more cat-cow. You can walk your hands forward and shift your hips back, coming into a variation of puppy pose. Or curl your toes under, lift your knees up, and shift your butt, hip, and thighs away from your hands. So you're bringing your body into a nice, long, inverted V. And then let's bring our knees down. And we're going to step our right foot forward. So this is where the blocks could come in handy. If you don't have them, you can use your own body. So I'm going to step my right foot forward. And then I'm going to ensure that my knee is right over my heel. So we don't want to be here. This after a while can really hurt the knee. So if you don't have blocks or they're too far away, you can bring your hands up onto your thigh. You could also use a piece of furniture. Maybe there's a wall in front of you. And you'll notice depending on what you're using, your torso could be higher or lower. It's okay, it doesn't really matter where you are. You might notice it feels different in your body, so you can always adjust. You could have your knee right under your hip. You're not going to get as good of a stretch. So if you can, move your knee back, press your front foot into the mat. And you want to feel really long in your spine, whatever angle you're at, reaching through the crown of your head. And then we just breathe. You can stay here. If you're not yet with your hands on your thigh, you can bring your hands to your thigh. I get really tippy when I come here, so I curl my back toes under. That helps a little bit, but actually helps me to press and create a little bit more of a lift. And still not so sure. If you feel comfortable here, reach your hands down and then inhale your arms up and over. And you can be in any variation. You could be in cactus arms. You could have your arms out to your side. You could keep your hands at your hips. Wherever you are, imagine that reach is happening. Pressing through your feet, ooh, falling down, reaching on up, even if your arms aren't up by your ears. All right, let's bring our hands back down, either to the thigh, to the block, to the mat, and we're gonna step our right foot back, and then step our left foot forward. So check and make sure, good alignment here to keep your knees safe, spreading your toes, pressing your foot into your mat. Checking in with this back leg, maybe move that back knee just a tad. Maybe you're a little higher, a little lower here. If you don't have your hands up at your thigh, perhaps you bring them up. You can always stay lower. I'm going to curl my back toes under. That's totally up to you. But I want you to feel that press. So you're kind of going low, but able to reach from your belly, through your heart, through the crown of your head. And then maybe we start to reach our fingertips down, like we're reaching into pockets, and then lifting on up. Any variation with your arms. Feel that press going down to help you reach up, lifting on up. Let's come back down. Step your left foot and knee back. Let's move our blocks out of the way. And we're gonna come back into downward facing dog. If you prefer to do cat-cow or stay in tabletop or a variation of puppy, please do that. So bend your knees a little bit. Keep them bent as you shift your hips up, like I'm imagining that my hips are gonna fit in that space between where the wall and the ceiling meet. And then let's bring our knees back down. We're gonna set up for a pose called Dolphin. So this is forearm dog. I'm gonna show you how to set it up. So the first thing I'd like you to do, I'm gonna come a little closer to the camera, is we're gonna do a little bit of measuring here. So if you wrap your hands around your biceps, and no wimpy wrapping, right? Wimpy wrapping like this. So see, if I do that, my shoulders and elbows are not in alignment. But if I really wrap, nice alignment, yeah? So we're gonna have that, and then we'll release, forearms on our mat. We can have our hands like this or interlace. So that's just kind of how it's gonna look. Imagine that this is my mat. So I'm gonna scooch on back. Make sure I don't trip on anything. So this is a lot more intense on the shoulders, less on the wrists. So there are variations, and I'll show all of them. So let's come on down to our forearms. Let's measure, wrapping our hands around our biceps. Once you've got that figured out, release your forearms parallel to each other on the mat. Palms can be spread like downward facing dog hands, or you can interlace your fingers. So that's my personal preference. You could stay right here, pressing your forearms. Feel the lift of your belly, the spreading of your shoulder blades and collarbones. Totally appropriate right here. Maybe you scooch your knees back a little bit. So this is like a dog version of puppy, and start to shift your hips back. That's an option. Or press your forearms, curl your toes, lift your knees up. I usually have to walk my feet in a little bit. This is a little more intense, right? So maybe shift your hips back a little more, bend your knees a lot. You can always come on down. I'm gonna come down and do the puppy version. So you want to be long in your spine, like you are in downward facing dog. Don't hold it too long. Come down when you need to take a break. You can come into child's pose if you know child's pose or some other resting pose. If you have not yet come down, let's come on down. So child's pose, we typically have our big toes near each other. They can touch or not, and knees wide-ish. You sit back on your heels, and then you drape your torso over your thighs. Bring your head down to your mat or a block. Sometimes I like to be a little more upright, and I have my elbows on my mat and put my forehead into the palms of my hands. And that way you can actually press the skin down on your forehead. And it's just an indicator that this is a pose where we relax, telling our nervous system to relax. If any variation of child's pose does not work for you, you can roll over onto your back and hug your knees into your chest like we did earlier. If you have one more down dog in you, come into downward dog. If you don't, stay where you are and come back to a tabletop. I'm actually going to move my blanket out of the way because I know that we're going to come up to standing shortly. So I want that to be out of my way. Downward dog's just going to be for a couple breaths, but you still decide what's best for you. Nice long inverted V, pressing through your palms, all your fingers, lifting your hips up and away. And then bend your knees a little bit and imagine that you're moving your thighs away from your hands, bringing your heels a little closer to the mat, even if they don't touch. And then we're going to come into Uttanasana, standing forward fold. You can bring your knees down and then step each foot forward. You can walk your hands back, feet forward, or a combination of the two. So I don't have my blocks anywhere near me. If you can easily have your hands on the mat, you can do that. You can have your hands on your hips or even on your blocks. So I'm actually gonna do a variation that I really like. I'm gonna bend my knees and bring my arms onto my thighs. So my spine is really long. This is way less intense on my body. All right, hands at hips. Let's tilt our pelvis upright like we're untilting the bowl. Shoulders over hips, head and neck over shoulders, and we'll stand our legs on up. Nice and straight, straight-ish. And some more water. Okay, if you have blocks, let's get those. And we're gonna turn to face toward the long edge of our mat. So put your blocks at the back of your mat, one on the left, one on the right. So in a moment, we're gonna step our feet wide, so you want that block close to your foot. And then we'll stand in the middle of our mat in our mountain pose, feet about hip distance apart, feeling around for the bony protrusions in your hips. If you could draw a line down your leg, that imaginary line would go right through the middle of your ankles. That's hip distance apart. Check in, that might not feel comfortable. Maybe you widen your stance. Maybe you like your feet closer together. So find a place where you feel even, grounded, rooted, standing as tall and strong as you can. And I don't mean strong like, ugh. I just mean feeling like your bones stacking one above the other. You can easily have tall posture, open heart, relaxed arms, relaxed breath. And then let's step our feet wide. Everyone's a little bit different on how wide, so you'll figure out the best spot for you when we start moving our legs around. So let's go to the right. We're gonna rotate our right foot and leg 90 degrees. The back heel is gonna kick back about an inch, and toes are gonna turn in slightly. Our hips are askew, so they're not going along the edge of the mat. They're more going toward the top right corner of your mat. Bending your front knee to go toward the second and third toe. Remember I talked about the knee earlier? So this is not good for the knee. So the knee stays right over the heel. Externally rotating this thigh, so it's really easy for this to fall in. So if you aim it toward the second and third toe, it's likely that you're gonna have this nice external rotation. Turn your heart toward the long edge of the mat. Arms up, shoulder height. If that's not appropriate, you have many options. You can have palms facing in other directions. Typical warrior two, gazes over the front middle finger. You can look wherever works best for you. We can feel, right, reversing the effects of osteoporosis and osteopenia. I can feel my legs shaking. It was shaking when I was taking yoga class earlier today. Okay, arms down, straighten that front leg, bring your feet to parallel. Oh wait, we gotta go back. I forgot to do something. All right, so we gave ourselves a little break. Come back to warrior two, knee bent, arms, heart. We're gonna keep our arms out wide and we're gonna straighten our front leg. So if you're a hyperextender like me, that's hyperextension, right? It actually like really kicked my hip back too. So I have to really press through my front foot. Then do a little more external rotation, and then I can't actually push that knee back, right? So arms up, and then to our hips. And we're gonna hinge at this front hip crease. Keep your heart facing forward. This is teapot triangle. This might be where you stay. Maybe your bottom hand lightly touches somewhere in your leg, not pressing on the knee. Maybe it comes to a block or a piece of furniture or a wall. Keep those bottom ribs turning forward and through, heart opens. Maybe the top hand stays at your hip or you reach your arm up. So my fingers are just doing this, reaching on up. Side body's long. Let's bend that front knee a little bit. We're gonna come back to warrior two for a breath. Arms down, straighten your front leg, parallel your feet. And let's go to our second side, rotating the left foot and leg 90 degrees. Back heel kicks back about an inch, toe slightly in. Slight rotation of your hips. This also helps to make sure when you bend that knee that it goes in a good safe spot. If I have my hips forward, see how my knee falls in and there's no way I can get it into that spot. Reaching your arms to wherever is best for you. So I mentioned on the first side that traditionally you look over your front middle finger, but you could also look forward from your heart or even at your backhand and arm. So I have a nerve issue on the other side of my neck, so it's actually better for me and Warrior Two on this side to look at my backhand and arm. Since we took a break on the first side, let's bring our arms down, straighten our front leg just for a moment, turning feet forward. All right, let's set up again. Let's come back briefly to Warrior Two with that front knee bent, making sure that that front foot and leg turn that 90 degrees. Back heel kicks back a little bit. And then let's straighten our front leg. And again, even if you're not a hyperextender, pick up your toes and spread them as you set them down. Keep that idea of that external rotation. And then we're gonna hinge at our front hip crease. So let's start with our arms out. We're gonna start to hinge, bring our hands to our hips in T-top triangle, turning those bottom ribs forward and through, heart open. Totally acceptable to stay right here. Maybe your bottom hand lightly touches your leg. Maybe it comes to a block, piece of furniture, a wall. Here comes Jordy again. Maybe your top hand stays at your hip, or you reach up toward the ceiling. And again, I'm just reaching my fingertips on up toward the ceiling. I'm gonna let Jordy out. Keep breathing. Two more breaths. Let's bend that front knee. Coming back to Warrior Two. Arms down, straighten your front leg, bring your feet to parallel, and then let's step on back. I'm just gonna move my blocks out of the way. And then let's shake it on out. So this is what I call Tadasana swing. So we swing our arms as my one arm goes to one side, the other heel lifts up. So same arm, same heel. And you could be more direct with it. You could just kind of let it happen. Nice way to let go after we've done some standing poses. One more standing pose, our favorite, tree pose. So if you'd like to be by a wall or a piece of furniture, make your way there. Need another sip of water. It's getting hot here in the old Pueblo. Okay, so coming into our mountain pose, feeling grounded and rooted. Remember, finding that place where you feel best in your Tadasana mountain pose. So if you're by something, your right and left might be different than what I'm doing. So if you're by something, your standing leg is going to be the leg closest to your supports. If you're in the room, you'll follow me. And if you go the other way, no big deal. So let's feel grounded and rooted. And then we're going to shift our weight over to the right foot and leg as we bend our left knee. And we're going to turn our toes out, our foot and our toes out. So we just did that external rotation like we did in the front leg of Warrior Two. And this might be your tree today, or you slide your foot to touch your standing leg. Ooh, fine there. You could bring your foot to your shin, not on your knee, or foot to your thigh. I don't really care how high your foot is. Totally fine if it stays down here on the mat. Hips and heart forward, knee wide. So, maybe you're up here, but this is happening. It's okay if you're wobbly, right? But you want to have that structure of the pose as much as possible. So feeling grounded and rooted, creating that lift. Let's do a little bit different with our arms as long as it's okay. Let's have our arms in what I call T-arms with your palms facing forward and your fingers spread wide. And imagine you're really reaching from your heart center. And if you need to have your arms another way to help with balance, then you do. If you're holding on to something, it's the other arm that's reaching. Breathing. And you kind of have your gaze locked, but not like so intent that you don't see anything else, that you forget to breathe. So notice what's happening in the peripheral as well. Let's bring our arms down, release our foot, give it a good shake. Maybe a couple of Tadasana swings. One more side, coming back to our mountain pose. Grounded, tall, long, open. Shifting our weight to our second side. So if you're going with me, it's the left leg, bending your right knee, turning your toes out, and then deciding where your foot goes on this side. Wherever your foot's placed, imagine that you're pressing your foot into your leg as much as you press your leg into your foot. That's going to help to get grounded and to create that lift. Coming up through the trunk of your tree. And then once you're ready, arms out, shoulder height, palms forward, or setting up in a different way if that's best for you. Don't forget to breathe. Don't forget to notice what's happening in your surrounding areas. Depends, maybe there's a lot of movement happening, right? Not so for me, but you also probably don't want to be looking at me right now, because if I fall over, you might as well. Ooh, I feel my arms burning. All right, let's release our arms, release your foot and leg, give it a good shake. Maybe a couple more Tadasana swings. Awesome, you did an amazing job. All right, we're gonna come back down onto our mat. We're gonna do a couple of things and then Shavasana, final pose. So have your blanket and maybe your blocks or maybe like a cushion or a pillow or something like that. My preference is that you don't have any support under your knees when we come into this next pose. I'll show you. Because we want the weight, right? The weight bearing pose, but it might be too much for your hips, your knees, something else. So you need to be the best judge for yourself, right? You're still going to receive benefit from the pose even with support. So Baddha Konasana, we're gonna come to lie down. If you're not familiar with the pose, it's basically your feet together and your knees wide, so you can see where that weight bearing. Your feet can move away, they don't have to touch. You can have support, all of those things. It's a little less intense lying down. So if you want a blanket under your head as a pillow, get that. If you are somewhere where it's cold, this might be where you want to put a fleece on or have another blanket nearby to cover up when it's time to come into our final pose of stillness and quiet. So back to constructive rest with your knees bent and your feet on your mat. So if you don't have blocks and you want support, you can use pillows, you can use one pillow kind of like under both feet and legs, maybe you have like a body pillow or a cushion from the couch or whatnot. So I'm gonna bring the soles of my feet together and allow my knees to go wide. If I was gonna use my blocks, I'd place them, you can decide the height. I think today, let's see, sometimes I need them. We're gonna be here for about 10 of my breaths. If you need to come out early, come out early. Hands and arms wherever is comfortable for you. Check in with your breath. The next time you inhale, lift your knees up, feet back to the mat, fully exhale, back to constructive rest. And then let's allow our knees to move over to the right. If you go to the left, no big deal, a little bit of a twist here. You can adjust your arms. If you can do T-arms, I think that's the best option. I'm a little limited because I have a wall next to me and also a nerve issue. If it's better for you to keep your hands on your chest or your belly, then of course do that. The next time you inhale, bring your knees back up. Maybe make an adjustment, fully exhale, back to constructive rest. And then let's allow our knees to move over to the left. So I have a wall in the way, so I'm actually gonna come back up and scooch over a little bit, and then make my way over. That might be a good support for you, a wall or a piece of furniture. Adjusting your arms, however's best for you. Next inhale, knees back up, feet back to the mat, fully exhale, adjusting, coming back to constructive rest. From here, I'm going to come into Shavasana, our final pose. Pose of stillness, quiet, and calm. That might be staying lying down, that might mean coming into a comfortable seat. I'm going to stay in constructive rest, and then I'm going to step my feet wide and allow my knees to come together. So when I record these YouTube classes, we don't do a very long Shavasana. So if you want to do a longer one, you're welcome to pause the video, set an alarm, excuse me, on your phone, microwave, whatnot, 5, 10, 15 minutes. We probably do like 2 minutes when I teach it. I just go by my breath, so I'm not 100% sure. And the timer is on my phone, which is recording this class. So just somewhere we can be quiet. So if you're like, I don't have a lot of time today, then you can do it with me. If you're on a day where you have more time, then give yourself more time to do it. The longer, the better. So get comfortable. This is where you can cover up, you can put socks on, and you can be in another position. Have your legs out long, you could support under your knees. I just do this when I do a shorter Shavasana. And then you want to settle in. So adjust your shoulders, adjust anything. And then we strive to be still. You need to make adjustments, scratch an itch, do so mindfully. Come back to the sensation of your breath. Feel your body heavy, as if it's melting into your mat, whether you're seated or lying down. Bring your attention back to your breath. Maybe you take in a nice full deep inhale and sigh as you release your exhale. Let's start to move our fingers and toes, maybe getting into our ankles and wrists, feet and hands. You can stretch, give your body a wiggle. Depending on if you're seated or lying down, you could hug your knees in, rocking. If you're lying down, let's make our way over to one side. Before you pick your head up, press your hands and arms, lifting them up, bringing your head up. Last. And then let's find a comfortable seat. So that could be, I sit on the block in a pose that's called Virasana. That's not comfortable for a lot of people, so don't try. I'm not going to teach it, so don't try to make your body go into this pose. If sitting cross-legged is comfortable for you, then you sit cross-legged. Sitting on your towel or blanket or even a chair. We're just going to be here for a few moments. Let's do a couple of shoulder rolls before we close our class together. So that can be a really nice way to open your heart and release your shoulders. Maybe remember to do that when you're at a stoplight, sitting at your desk, maybe on a Zoom call. Let's do 2 more. Nice. All right, sitting nice and tall, hearts open. Let's bring our hands to heart center in what's called Anjali Mudra, sealing our practice together. You can keep your eyes open, closed, a light gaze, or slight gaze. Keep peace in your mind, keep strength in your body, and keep love in your heart. From my heart to yours, I bow to you. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I appreciate you taking the time for yourself and practicing this sequence. If you have any requests or questions or comments or whatnot, you can comment below. Also, all of my information to contact me via social media or email will be below as well. I hope you have a lovely day, and I look forward to practicing with you again soon. Thanks so much.